Good morning and welcome to the Elevate Renatus team call. This is your host, Keely Austin. Today is September 22nd. It is Takeoff Tuesday. I'm excited to be here with you all. As of right now, we have 61 participants on the line. Make sure you do reach out to your team. We don't want any ICMs left behind. So Bill Predebon is such an amazing individual. I have gotten to know him over the last four and a half years as we've both worked in the Scottsdale Renatus markets together. Bill has really inspired me, and he inspires so many in Renatus because not only is he killing it and he's doing really well with both real estate from this education as well as from the marketing side of this business, but he's also just got an amazing energy about him. And he's very passionate. And if you're here with us on Tuesdays, you definitely understand what I'm talking about. Bill is just so passionate about what he does. And he has a great way of sharing his mind and what's working for him. So as I mentioned, Bill has been very successful with both marketing and real estate. Bill will tell you that before Renatus, he couldn't even spell the word real estate. And he always jokes that he can't read and that you don't have to be able to read or speak English to do real estate, because he has made millions in the real estate side of this business. So before Renatus, Bill was a pro skier for 10 years in Vail, Colorado, and realized he was really not qualified to do much else. He then bought a few stores and owned a franchise and ended up losing everything just because due to lack of knowledge. In 2007, he heard about real estate investing, but he did not have education. So he did attempt real estate investing on his own. And that was actually right around the 2008 crash. And he ended up upside down in over $400,000. He then found Renatus and made 8 times more in his first year in Renatus than he did the previous year as both a loan officer and a realtor. Ever since then, Bill has completed over 150 deals. I'm curious if Bill has an actual number for us, because I think it's probably far past 150 at this point. He's grossed multiple 7 figures, and he is a marketing leader. So he is on the PIT team, meaning he's on the President's Advisory Council in training. And so we are very fortunate to get to learn from Bill this morning. So get ready to take notes, and I'm excited for what Bill has to share. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Keely Beals. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you. How are you doing? Good to see you.
I'm good. I'm all cleaned up, shaven. I don't do that too often, I guess. What a cool introduction. Thanks for having me, and thanks for putting all this together. I think there was a couple of people that wanted you to share a couple things. Did you redo that? The onboarding and the shift screen. Do you want to share those again? I don't know what that's for, but they might want to get a snapshot. But in the meantime, thank you so much for the intro. Thanks for, it's just so cool to have you do this. I mean, we all get to just show up, and I know you have to get up a little earlier and get to work on this a little earlier and put together. There's the onboarding little picture. Perfect. And I know everybody knows that, but you also, mastermind with us and bring a lot of ideas to the table and really collaborate with us in making all the events that we do each week come to fruition. And I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm happy for your success as well. So thanks again.
Thank you, Bill. I'm not sure what Autumn is referring to with the shift. Oh, shift for the regionals.
There it is. Well, I'll take a picture too. How pretty.
How pretty.
I'm guessing there's probably people on this line who don't know what that little thing is on the left-hand side there with the little numbers on it.
I sure do. My car is a manual.
That is a manual transmission stick shift. That is funny. All right, okay. So I got a question. I love questions. So I'm going to kick it off with my personal cell phone number, 760-533-3141. 760-533-3141. Love the overdrive. All right. So Tamara, if you don't mind, when you say what changed for you, could you be, you can even come off mute if you want, or just maybe elaborate a little bit on your question?
Yeah, sure. So, like, I've been doing a lot of research on all the shifts in the economy, and we're headed towards a crash, according to what I've researched, or a correction. So you went through that in real estate, right?
Yep.
So what did you have to change? Were you part of Renata's then, or no?
I joined Renatus in 2008, the very beginning, end of 2007.
Great. So can you talk about that a little bit, your experience of real estate in a downturn market and how you would prepare for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so as you guys know, so what we can do is relate a question like this pretty easily to the marketing. And that's why we're here today. But it's hand in hand, in my opinion. And I'll make a couple points on it. Um, and so uh, the first thing I did, so when you're talking to people coming up who are concerned about the market, or, everybody wonders, when it's going to change, what's going to happen, where's it going to go, you know, will it crash or whatever. And I don't know, crash is a strong word, I think, especially when related to real estate. And I don't know that we'll see that. And I know you already corrected your terminology with using the word correction, right? I think markets go up and down, from my understanding and my research as well, and my understanding from Chris Wilson. Um, and in certain markets, like major markets, appreciating markets like Arizona and the coastal, both east and west coasts, um, in that case, a correction could be 20 or 30%. And when you're looking at a median household income, a medium household price point of 320,000 in Arizona, 20 or 30% is nearly $100,000 correction. So it doesn't need to be a 60 or 70%, 50% crash like we had in '08. I don't know that we'll ever see a recession in our lifetime like that, if that's what you call it. But so for me, number one is, I was self-educating, as Keely mentioned, and I started self-educating. Really, I bought Carlton Sheets in '04, and then I put it aside for a couple of years, and in '06 I started to get into real estate through becoming a loan officer and getting my real estate license in '07, and trying to get into real estate myself by reading a couple books, as you know, and honestly, I look back, when I remember buying, my wife mentioned, and she was my girlfriend at the time, she was like, hey, I wish I had an island with a kitchen. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to be doing real estate anyway. I'm going to go find us a house with an island. And honestly, I don't even know if I knew what that was. And and then, but what I did know was that I could get a loan for stated income and get 100% financed loan on a house. And I knew that the market was going up, and I knew that everybody's houses were appreciating from what I had heard. And so I just went with that strategy, and it killed me, right? I convinced her, and she didn't really know any better to question it, right? We got to watch who we take advice from, and she trusted me, that I would use her credit, and that we would get this house, and we would negatively cash flow the house she lived in, because that it just wasn't a positive cash flow rental. But I knew that Rich Dad Poor Dad told me that I should have rental properties, and that was the easiest way for me, having no income and no money, to get a rental, for us. And so was to keep the house we lived in, no matter what the consequence or cost, and get a new house that was going to appreciate and sell it in 2 years. That was literally my thought. And I never knew that the market would even had an ability to crash like it did. So the takeaway here might be, number one, and I'm going to answer your question tomorrow, is, there, it's not like everybody in the country that you're talking to has the information that you have right now, that markets go up and down. That was 15 years ago, or 14 years ago, I guess 13 years ago. And there are people that are now, at that time I was 38, and And there's people that are now in their 20s and 30s that have the same knowledge, the same lack of knowledge, I should say. So, you know, a lot of times we talk to people that are in real estate because we're in real estate and we're working with people in real estate. But when you talk to the general public, they're very ignorant when it comes to real estate investing. And that's why when you hear Jane Clark talk about, you know, mentioning the word, you know, 3 times a day, the phrase, I invest in real estate, or have you ever considered investing in real estate? People are intrigued by it instantly and automatically, and they're very unfamiliar with it. And I'll share an example with that from this weekend that I had. So what changed for me is the number one thing that I'll tell you now in real estate, and this will help you too, in my opinion. And I only have gone through, I guess, you know, there was a little correction in the mid 2000s, in 2015 and 16 and 14. And even throughout the way that it went up and down in that 8-year period that we were way down. But from what I experienced, you know, a market like this is a tougher market to find deals. We all know that. Especially now in major markets, there's a lack of supply like no other. And that is, I think, due to COVID as well, possibly the election, the looming election and things like that, where people are not selling, even though it's an amazing market and they have the opportunity to refi and or get loans on their houses that are very, very lucrative for them, very, very influential for them to do a refi instead of sell. So this market is not an easy market to necessarily do real estate. You've got to have a little bit more strategy than just buy now and sell soon enough before the market crashes, if that makes sense. Especially if you're flipping and stuff, you know, it's tougher to find the deals that make sense. But, you know, if you do get a little bit lucky and you get a little bit of equity and you can turn it around quickly, you can also make a pretty good buck under a certain price point because of the demand for the property. But I've found that the real estate market in a moving, stagnant market, in a falling market or a stagnant market, or an uncertain market, you have a greater chance. In fact, obviously you've all heard this, that more money is made in those times than any other time when the market's going up, right? It is a much more opportunistic time to be doing real estate during those down times. And you have multiple exit strategies. Holding on to properties that you bought on sale is a great opportunity as well. So the way I relate this to the marketing is I will tell you, when people get started in real estate, you know, when I got started in real estate and what changed for me is I had to adapt to different strategies. I started out thinking, like everybody, in a market like this, when I first started reading books in 2007 and learning about real estate investing, I started out thinking I would have to wholesale. And I think I might have mentioned this last week. I can't remember. It was a training I was on, but, you know, or no, it was actually, I think it was the mastermind on Thursday night I did. People say I'm a beginner, therefore I should start wholesaling, right? And in my opinion, that's completely false. Wholesaling is a strategy that takes a skill set. I mean, imagine you have to get a deal lower than what a fix and flipper would get it for, which means you have to be direct to seller, which means you have to have negotiation skills. Hence, you might want to join Bob Snyder's intensive this weekend, right? On Saturday, and study the negotiations class. I studied Bob's class probably 5 or 6 times and listened to it I had it on CD, believe it or not, in 2008. And I listened to it all the time. So I went to the class like 5 or 6 times live, but I listened to that CD all the time. And I negotiated everywhere I went. I asked everywhere I went if that's the best you could do. I mean, I would take items in Walmart and like literally walk them up to the freaking counter and like ask for a discount. And they're like, well, why would you want a discount? I'm like, I don't know, just because I don't want to pay full price. And they're like, well, I could give you 10%. I'm like, done. Like there's no reason for it. Like I just wanted to see if they would give me. And then sometimes like I'd argue and I'd be like, well, I go, I don't need the item. If you could get a manager and see if they'll do 20%, I'll do it. And someone would come over and like there'd be a line of people behind me. And to get me out of the freaking line, they would give me the discount, like 20% off a brand new item. In Walmart, my wife would leave. She would like walk out of Walmart. So I don't suggest doing that. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but you guys get my point. So wholesaling is not a strategy for the weak and the new. The only reason it's for the new is because most new investors have no money and no credit and no resources. They're not resourceful. They haven't learned that skill set yet. And therefore they assume and they learn from gurus that wholesaling is the way to go. But wholesaling is a very lucrative business. And when you get into a market in today's market, like it was in 07, when I was on my own, learning on my own before I found Renatus, then that strategy is very competitive. These people have been doing this for years and they've ramped up. They've been building their business. They've been seeing their business improve in an up market for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? Markets go up for 4 years. So as from 2015 to 2019, these wholesalers have been building their business. And then you jump in a tight market. Now, when I say you, I mean your prospects, right? When you're having this conversation with prospects or you in your real estate business, and you're like, I'm just going to try to wholesale. Hell, you better have some connections, right? You better have some leads on private sellers that don't even know they want to sell, that are not on market and that are motivated to sell for whatever, reason in their life, which we can talk about, but that are ready to go. So, you know what I mean? Otherwise, you're competing with people that are putting out flyers, that have text message campaigns. They have no call voicemail campaigns. They have email campaigns. They have buyers lists. They have door hanger. They have bird dogs for them. They're getting all the deals. They're getting in front of all the people. So you're competing with that, and you're trying to do a $200 a month mailer campaign against a $40,000 a month mailer campaign with multiple investors. It's very difficult. So that's why the network comes to play. All right. And so I'm going to share a couple things here, you guys. So as it changed for me, there's a few things about our marketing that works. Number one is people get frustrated and they get pissed off when they join a wholesaler group for $2,000 or $4,000 or whatever dollars it is. And they can't get a freaking deal done in like a market like this. Some of them get lucky. Some of them come in with a prospect. Some of them have been working on it for 6 or 8 to 12 months on their own, and they've gotten some traction, but they don't have the contract. They don't have the ability to close. They don't understand the transaction quite enough. And then they buy a program and they can put all the pieces of the puzzle together. That's a few and far between, the 1 or 2 testimonies you're going to hear, right? But the majority come in there with nothing and they leave with nothing because they're in the most competitive market possible. And so, as what happens is they don't get a deal done and they quit. That's human nature. And they're frustrated and they're blaming and all that stuff, just like in our marketing or anything for that matter. It doesn't matter what it is. And, we're frustrated and we don't wait it out. The thing that changed for me is I realized that in that market, as it started to shift, was wholesaling was no longer an option. There were so many second lines of credit that on these houses or second mortgages that really they didn't have the equity that the list told me they did. Number 2 is the houses weren't worth what they used to be, right? And the market started to shift. And so as the market shifted into short sales, I fortunately had the short sales education. I had the full combo. And I started immediately shifting to studying short sales. And again, I studied short sales over and over and over again. Now, that worked perfectly for 2008. I worked on over 100 short sales. At one point, I had 110 files of short sale first or second mortgages on my dining room table. I was talking to banks all over the country, and then I got lucky. I mean, I closed 13 deals that year in my first year, right? I think you've heard that story, and there was, it's just so cool, some of the stuff that you learn. But had I not had short sales and I only had education of wholesaling or fix and flip education, I would have been bankrupt and broke again. And I would have quit and I would have gone on. Now follow me. In 2009, immediately after the short sale market in 1 year, they completely revamped the law. You could no longer use third-party funds to close a dual escrow transaction through a short sale. What that means is, so we're going to tie this into marketing right here. So immediately within my first year of having success, right? And all of the money that I made had been spent the 2 years before. I mean, I was completely broke as much as I was in 2009 as I was in 2008, because I didn't make money for 7 months. I increased our bills, as you guys had heard, over $7,000 a month within a 6-month period during 2007, thinking I was going to be making more money than I was and making any money at all. And then we got married. It was just a disaster. It was one mistake after another. And I was buying things and banking on my income on what I was going to be making, not what I was making. And entrepreneurs do that. And if you can avoid that in any way, shape or form, if you listen to Chris Wilson, he was in real estate for nearly 5 years or something like that, at least 3, before he quit his Lucid Technologies job. And that was I'm guessing that was a multiple 6-figure a year job that he had with Lucid Technologies. So do not be quick to quit your job, in my opinion, especially in a market like this, especially in a down market. When you have W-2 income and good credit, you can finance all kinds of things when no one else is financing. So keep your job for a while. In fact, if I could give you advice, if I had to do it over again, I would have still gotten a job. But instead, I just went 100% entrepreneur in real estate. So when you're talking to your prospects and they're like, I don't have the time to study all this education. I don't need this education. All I need is this, right? Of course, they know exactly what they need because they've been in real estate for so long, right? But when we're overcoming those types of objections, stories sell. And my story was in 2009, then after 13 transactions closed and, almost $160,000 in income in my first year in real estate doing short sales, the strategy went away. I had no money, I had no credit, and I had no hard money lenders and no private money lenders at this time yet. And I didn't, so you no longer could use, I would actually get an off-market transaction on a short sale and I would write a contract and then they would give me the deed to their property. They were walking away from their property. So I had the title to the property, not recorded yet, and I had the contract. Then I would literally, as is, list it on the MLS. I would stick it on the MLS for a much lower price than what they could sell it for themselves, based on the fact that any offer I took was contingent upon me getting approval from the bank. When that all happened, then I would get an end buyer on a retail house that was in great condition that I was short selling, and I could sell it at market value because I had taken it from overpriced and gotten it down here, and I could make the difference in the spread, okay? And then they would close first, and I didn't have to pay the bank that was short selling. I didn't have to pay them for 72 hours after closing. So the escrow company, the title company, would take the funds from the buyer. They would get a new loan, pay it off, put it all into escrow with their down payment, and then she would disperse funds to the banks that were being shorted, and then I would make the difference in the middle, and she would wire the 20 or 50 grand to my account, and I would get the money in between. That went away. They changed the law. You could no longer use third-party funds, a third-party transaction, and what you would call a dry escrow. I would literally buy a house with no money, and then it would fund 2 days later. So in 2009, that was gone. But what I found was the auction was off the chain. There was so many properties at auction that were going back to third party, which meant, going back to the bank. They were becoming an REO. And there was a lot of opportunity at auction, but you needed money at auction. And auction enabled me to actually close on the property. So I had to learn what? I had to learn fix and flip. So I also had to learn private money and hard money. So I started studying those classes, right? I didn't study fix and flip in 2013. I wasn't fixing crap because I had no money and no private lenders and no idea how to do it. And I wasn't concerned with fixing and flipping. So the market predicted, or the market dictated what it was I was doing. But if I didn't have the education that we have in the combo, I would have been on my ass. I would have had to go find somebody to teach me these other strategies. So these are the things that people don't realize. Like, most of the time when I close a transaction, it is not a simple transaction. Oh, buy from a wholesaler, get a hard money loan, get a private money loan, fix up the property, flip the property, get a realtor, and sell it on the MLS. No, sometimes I can't afford with the numbers to get a hard money loan. So what do I got to do? I got to do it subject to. I got to do it owner financing. And then I could carry it. Well, then I might want to turn it into a short-term rental or a long-term rental for a little while. Do you know how many properties I flipped 2 years later after I owned them for 2 years, renting them out? Right? And they would actually go up in appreciation, and then it had a big enough spread so I could flip it. But in the meantime, I made a couple $100 a month. There was no money in the deal to flip it, but I didn't want the deal to go away. So I used subject to and very little money out of pocket to pay off some guy who didn't want his house anymore. Right? These are things that we don't think about because we don't do them. But if you study the education, and even if you're not doing the deal, or you understand, you get into a mastermind on some deal that we go into masterminds because we want to do these deals. Maybe we go into masterminds because we want to teach the strategy to our prospects and explain it to them and tell stories about them on the deals that other people have done and use those stories to close our prospects. Like, this is the thing. I'll tell you one thing, and many of you have heard this. In 2006, 2007, I did my first wholesale deal in 6 weeks. I started door knocking. 4 weeks later, I tied up a contract. 2 weeks later, I sold it for 12 grand more than I got it for. I got lucky. I sold it to an individual in the community who had two options. He was going to flip it, but it was a tough market, right? It was a scary market, but there was about $65,000 of equity for him in the property. Or he was just going to refinance out of it and live in it until the market went back up. I don't ever know what happened to that house, actually. But I know for a fact by the time the market finished crashing, the house was definitely worth less than what I sold it to him for. But none of us knew that. So hopefully he just held on to it for a while, or hopefully he flipped it before it crashed too much. But I used the community to offload my property. So I didn't have a buyer's list. I had a buying community of investors. That's where we come in, where most other guru programs that are out there don't offer this to your clients. Yeah, there's choices out there, but nothing like the community we have, right? You can tell story after story of partnerships in this community. Number two is I started doing short sales in 2008, like January, maybe it was the end of December. And I started studying the class, and it took me at least 6.5 months to close my first short sale. So for 6.5 months, I didn't sell anything. I didn't flip anything. I didn't make anything. I didn't do anything. And I was broke, right? And I went to a meeting once, and I was going to meetings all the time to meet people. And I was working on short sales, and people started to hear about the short sales I was working on. They were referring me, which is fine. You guys know that. You start to make noise in the community, and people are attracted to you. So I remember going to this guy in the community, and I asked him, what are you guys doing to make 20 grand in a month? And they're like, well, we're selling the education. We're a marketer. And I'm like, well, what is that exactly? And they're like, you've been coming to the Super Saturdays. How do you not know what it is? And I'll tell you, I wasn't coachable, and I wasn't open to marketing. I wasn't open to that crap. I was only open to doing real estate. And it was interesting because when I actually paid attention, so pay attention here, I did not go market on Craigslist or market on Facebook or mail out mailers and all this crap. I went to my warm market, and in 2 months, about 40, 50 days, I invited a dozen people that I knew to events. Some people that I worked in with short sales. One of them was my short sale agent. One of them was my neighbor. One of them was the guy who taught me loans. One of them was the guy who signed on our property that was upside down, $300,000, our mobile notary guy. I was literally calling people that I knew that were interested in real estate and talking to them about Renatus, which was the old company. And they would show up to a meeting. One girl that was my very first sale was a neighbor, and she was my a pass up sale. And I closed her at an Applebee's on a napkin with the education. Like, it wasn't, she never even went to a meeting because she didn't have time. And I had no idea what I was doing, except what I was doing. And what I was doing was learning real estate and learning how to do short sales. And it just happened that the timing was right for her, that for her and her husband was laid off during the crash in construction. And she thought it would be a perfect fit for him. So she bought it basically to help him get a job or get into a business. And so that was my first sale. And a lot of people were experiencing hardship. And so they were buying because of pain. And it's the same thing in today's market, right? So in 45 days, 12 people of mine came to the events and 4 people bought. And one person didn't buy the combo. They bought the AIT basically. So it was an $18,000. So I generated what you would call $39,000 in earnings, and I made 19 grand. And I'm telling you that $19,000 after I got 5-star qualified was the most money I'd made in 12 months. In fact, it was more money than I'd made in pretty much 12 months. And it literally saved my ass. And within another less than 40 days from then, I closed like 5 short sales in a row that I've been working on for almost 7 months. And that extra money, like, literally gave breathing room to me and my wife on the arguments we were having financially and everything. And I hadn't even been married a year. And so the things that changed for me are not because I changed. It's because I had a resource that enabled me to change. I consider the Renatus opportunity a resource. It's not the only thing. It's not the thing that makes you go be wealthy, but it gives you the concepts. These trainings inspire you to, for me, I haven't listened to a book in a year. And Michael challenged me on a call that we do, and I wasn't even looking for a challenge. It was kind of a joke. And he just questioned me and said, maybe you should be open. What's working for you? Is that working? And it's not. So in the last, I guess it's probably been 3 or 4 weeks, I've listened to 4 books. And that's pretty good for me. And so my point is that I don't remember what the hell my point was. This Renatus is a resource. I'm looking at the things. I love the fact that we are taught to have backup plans. Absolutely. Renatus is a resource that encourages us to do things and allows us to adapt. And so if I didn't have that, I don't know that I would have been able to sustain and go through, right? And move through the strategies that I learned in order to move with the market. Markets are always changing. Credit is always changing. We never used to have credit classes. We never used to have anything that had to do with financial literacy and paying off debt and a lot of the classes, no mindset classes and stuff. I mean, there was 25 classes and it was your basics, right? It was your rehab and your fix and flip and your short sale and your wholesaling, and then your hard and private money. And then there was multifamily and there was creative acquisitions and the tax and legal, self-directed retirement accounts, all your basics, but none of the things that Bob has supported us with, and none of the trainings that we have. You know what I mean? None of this stuff didn't exist. Masterminds didn't exist, study groups, all of that. It was property tours. I remember the very first property tour I did was one of my first fix and flips in 2009. We called it a drive-by, and then they didn't like that term very much. I kind of like it, but real estate drive-by. And so anyway, great question, Tamara. I hope that helped answer what it is that if we parlay this into today's market with what we're doing in real estate and being able to relay it to the marketing. You know, for ourselves in real estate, I'll go back to this, and I do this a lot. I don't know how much you guys study, but I was studying, and I know you've heard this, like Michael, you know, he would stand up and we always use each other. At Dane, you know, most of the Utah group, I know we didn't do this in Arizona, but I think it's a great idea, is that, you know, they would get through the essentials all the way first before they ever touched an AAT. That was the recommendation or the plan, and to get through all the essentials. And I never did that in the beginning because I didn't feel like I had time. I mean, I went directly to fix and flip, you know, and I went and watched fix and flip. And then I studied fix and flip because I needed to make money right away. And it's not a great way to jump into real estate needing to make money. That's why I think the marketing plan is so good. But one of the things that I did is I studied a lot of classes that I wasn't even doing. I studied lease options with Chris Wilson. I studied creative subject 2. And these classes were new to me. I didn't know really what they were at all. I mean, I didn't know anything about them, but I studied them because the college was only 1 week every 2 to 3 months. And so I had to fit in classes as much as I possibly could, or I couldn't study anything for another 3 weeks or 3 months. So you could be, again, studying classes that you don't necessarily know you're going to use right now. But in your marketing and your prospecting and your conversations, I know you know this, and I know you hear this all the time, but this is the reality of it. This is like the realness, is that you will actually be a little bit of an expert, especially if you study it on purpose and not in the car and not at the gym, but you literally sit down for an hour in front of your computer and study it. Like, I've listened to these 4 books, but it's interesting when someone trains on a book, they probably have taken notes and have listened to it while sitting down at a desk or in their bed taking notes. There's a difference between how I listen to the book and how that person listens to the book. There's no way I could train you on The Art of War or War. I don't even know the damn title. The War of Art of War. I don't even know. Keely will type it in there. Because I listened to it and I paid attention and I got the concepts, but I didn't study it. So you'll do that in your real estate education on Renatus, and you will find yourself understanding very little, and you'll almost be dangerous instead of being informed and educated on the subject. But if you can, the War of Art, very good. So I'm going to read this. Deborah Brick. Bill, this was so real. Never in multiple years have I heard so much truth, especially the concept of wholesalers. Competition, that's awesome. You're welcome. Yes, on my to-do, study short sales. I'm telling you, the coolest thing about short sales, you guys, I appreciate this so much. I'm so glad. Thank you, Tamara. I love you, girl. Here's the thing about short sales. Most people aren't doing short sales in today's market. Most people aren't doing short sales. And I say most, I mean like 99% of all investors right now are not focused. It's not a prevalent strategy. That's a big word for me. So write that down. I'm not sure how to spell it. It's Prevent. Lent, I don't know, whatever. And so, but if you knew it, you guys, there are short sales in every market all the time, everywhere. Short sales have been around since people have lent money, right? If you think about it, if you lent somebody money and you were trying to get your money back, whether you had it secured by a property or not, and the person goes 3 or 4 months past what they promised to pay you, and at that point you're like, I don't give a crap, bro. Give me $900 out of the $1,000 and I'll take it and leave it right now, right? That is a short sale. You're taking less than owed because you just want something instead of nothing. And short sales have been around. If in any market, most people are not putting a large lump sum down on the property. Therefore, if anything happens and the market moves at all, or something gets overinflated and they get a second line of credit on the property, and after maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years, and then they take out this big line and then they spend it and then they have to sell it. There's sales costs, there's repairs, there's all of these things that deteriorate the price of the house. And they owe more than it's worth. Even if they owe what it's worth, they still can't sell it without bringing money to the table, and they run into a hardship. And then the bank is willing, according to their laws, like that's written in their underwriting, they can take certain discounts on what's owed to them without ever even going to upper management, right? It's an allocated amount that a negotiator, an asset manager has a limitation to on what they can approve. So you can get these sales. There's nothing better on a short sale, if you're looking, than a short sale with a second mortgage. If you can get the second mortgage who has a junior lien has no power whatsoever in any situation. And if you have a junior lien that is worth more than the house is worth, so you add the first lien and the second lien against the value of the property, and it falls a little short or add even, you can get this second lien to almost discount 80 to 90% of the second lien. And all of a sudden, you're going to create all of this equity from negotiating the second lien. You keep the first lien position in perfect position because it doesn't need to be shorted. And you end up with a beautiful property that you can hold, rent, lease option, wrap, or sell, or flip. It's amazing. It's large second liens. Second liens are the key to great short sales when the market's not crashing. But most people aren't looking for those deals. But when you find them, they're brilliant opportunities. And so I think it's great to study short sales and understand that concept. But when you translate this knowledge to your prospects and you talk about the depth of our education, and it will make sense that they want what we have for the future, right? If someone says, I just want to learn how to wholesale, great. Renatus isn't for you. Go ahead and go get your $2,000 program and let me know how that works for you in this market, right? And you're not going to say it like that, right? Unless it's like your fifth time having them come to the meeting, and then you need to cut them loose a little bit and take it away from them, right? You need to do the takeaway close. But in the meantime, when you're really talking to someone, you're asking questions like, do you really want to try to dive into a market in short? Like most of the time, like if you think about it, people tell us what they want. I really want to fix and flip a house. I really want to buy and hold. And we're like, that's great. That's exactly what I wanted to do. We've got this class. It's for you. You know what I mean? And blah, 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 blah. And naturally we want to accommodate. We want to appreciate. We don't want to question anything. And we just naturally want to sell them what they want. But they don't know what they want. You know what they want. You know what they need. If you're doing this properly, like if you're looking at your classes and even if you read some of the bios on the classes and understand what these instructors are teaching, your understanding of real estate will go up. And when that happens, you can literally question someone and take a training like this from today and question someone who tells you they want to get into fix and flip and wholesaling in today's market. Right? And be like, have you thought about that? Right? You could ask them questions about what they're really what they're understanding. Well, tell me a little bit about wholesaling, like why you think beginners should do it, right? And then they're going to tell you, well, I don't have any money and I don't have any credit, and I figured I could jump in. And you're like, well, if you don't have any money, do you have any money to go find a lead? How are you going to find a lead, right? And then you could tell the story about the Renatus community. The majority of people that we talk to are not interested in IT or developing an app. They're not interested in I don't know, being in the healthcare industry. They're not interested in being a doctor or going to nursing school. They're interested in real estate investing. They're interested in helping people, right? Would you guys agree? A lot of people we come are relators. They want to help people. They want to do good for the world. And the way that they know how to do that is if they had passive income and they had time freedom, they could give that, right? That's a real freaking thing. And so if that's the case, then we would say to them, listen, if you want to jump into wholesaling and you think that that's the right, but you have no money at all in the marketing, right? Then I know where I'm going with this. I had to backtrack there. Okay. So when you take our community, for example, the people that we're talking about, thank you. I went over. Okay. When we take the people that we were talking to, they are interested in real estate investing and helping people. Therefore, when we talk to them about Renatus and we bring them into our community, damn it. Oh, I know. When they are broke, when they have no money and they have no resources and they are not yet what we call resourceful yet to go out and figure it out on their own and take advantage of borrowing other people's money in their family or whatever, not as a loan because they're in trouble, but as an investment, and they can turn their investment into money, right? When they're not yet resourceful and confident enough and positive enough to do that, right? Then when they talk to people and when you talk to people, those people have resources. They don't know what to do with them because you need more than one resource. You need more than money to do real estate. You need more than knowledge to do real estate. You need more than a skill set to do real estate, right? You can't be a builder and go do real estate as an investor. Nobody ever does it. That's why all contractors are mostly broke unless they're running a major contracting business, which are few and far between. Most general contractors even are feast or famine. Same thing with all trades. Then you take people that are in trouble in their house, or they know somebody who's in trouble in their house, and they're a family member or friend or colleague, and I don't know what time it is, and they want to, and they want to help people. Finally figuring out what my point was. They want to help people. And so all of these people have one or two of 5 elements of a deal that can be done, but you have all the knowledge, and you have all the resources, and you have all the community. So when you invite them in, they will see the power of them putting all the pieces together. And then you can share how people come into the community and then start to get educated, but have money. So then they lend their money or partner their money with people so that their money can go to work before they're ready to put their own money to work. If you understand me on that, follow me on that, right? A lot of people will join. A lot of people will come in with a contract, or not even a contract, but they'll have a deal, but they won't know how to tie up the deal. But they get started with Renatus, but then you can help them write the contract and solidify the deal rather, and tie it up and make it into a deal. So all of these things come together by you doing marketing, right? And then they will be able to do that. But if we're asking somebody who's telling you they're not interested in, they don't have time for 400 hours, they don't want to do, I'm going to do buy and hold later, I'm going to do short sales, I'm going to do fix and flip later, I just want a wholesale, and they have no money and no credit, and you're like, where are you going to get your deals from? Let me tell you how Bill just got his last deal. Let me tell you how this person got their deal. Let me tell you how these 2 people partnered up. It's all because of the community. And all of a sudden, the other resource of Renatus becomes the community, which we all know is like our own built-in real estate investing association that people miss out on. And so, awesome. Okay, you guys got that point. That is what changed for me. Is I have been able to sustain a career in real estate on up and down markets from 2008 to now because of the education curriculum depth that Renatus offers. And more importantly than all of that is the fact that there is a community. And when I was gone from 2011 to 2016 from the Renatus community, I had built up my own little community, right? And I was doing real estate. I was doing an assisted living facility, a large 47 unit. I had multiple businesses, right? And then I got into coaching of my own, right? And what I found is I was always seeking a community, like I had known in the old company. I was always seeking the ability to associate with people on a regular basis over time, not once in a while, like in REI, right? And REI here in Phoenix is once a month. Most of the same people don't show up all the time. The new people show up once or twice or 3 times. They're too busy. And the main guys and girls that are killing it are there every month. And they fish off of, right? They leech off of all the new people that come in, just like but it's not it's not like this. It's not an abundance mindset. They are the sharks, and they latch on any of these folks that are desperate for a deal. And so they take advantage of it. And I don't mean that badly. It's not like they're terrible people. So I was always longing for this. And I really wanted to get back into Renatus. And that's why I'm here again for the last 4 years. And this Renatus community creates my business, creates my real estate. And I create real estate investors through my business, through Renatus. That one element alone is more valuable than anything you can possibly imagine. Well, I mean, when you put it up against a Johnny Dessauer, it's not the same. You got Johnny D, right? You got Matt Sorensen and Mark Kohler. You can't beat the people that Bob surrounds us with the people teaching us, but you guys get the point. Can I read you a text response I got from a product? Yes, let's do it right away. Go ahead. We'll finish up with that. That's awesome. Don't forget that Michael is following you at 11. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll be done here at 8. Yeah, I got one. You're welcome to. Go ahead.
It'll help people because it's very applicable to what you're doing. Okay. I don't think Renatus is for me. It seems like an MLM type of business, and that's not what I'm looking for. I think there's some value in the education being offered via the platform, but I'm not in a position to invest that type of money at this point into it. I don't have lots of extra cash laying around, and I can't stretch my already tight budget to finance these courses, nor will I pool equity from my property to funnel into the classes when I can put that money into a deal. I'll continue to look for other less expensive options for the education, as there is a lot of information available online and many online real estate investment and wealth building academies. I hope through networking, I'll find someone with experience who is open to an organic mentoring partnership. I have 15 years of high-end multifamily apartment management experience, so an investor with apartment units may find my skill set and knowledge in that field very valuable to their business in exchange for mentorship. Thanks for your time, but I won't be joining the team.
Okay, folks. So if everybody's listening, I would pay attention to this. The odds of this person buying are low. Okay, but they're not out, right? Number one is most likely the timing is not right. But there was about 15 objections, and basically they all come down to money. All right, whether he has the money or could get the money, or whether he wants to partner with the money. All right. The first thing I like, this is a conversation tomorrow that you and I can have offline too. But there's a lot of thoughts in my head right there. Like I could go on for an hour, but I just would ask this person why. Like, what is it? First of all, what do you want? Like, you're telling me everything you don't want to do. What do you want? Right? And at the end, he said, I'd like to get free freaking mentorship. Right? So unless somebody's in his family, you're not going to get that. Like, and who are you taking advice from? The other question would be, how long do you want to wait to get into your deal? Even if you did get an equity line, you probably didn't even know what an equity line of credit was and how to use it and how it works and how you'd even go about it. And then are you really going to get enough equity to go buy a deal? And how do you know the deal is going to be good? Like I would ask 1,000 questions, and I would go back to what it is you want. Like first of all, I'd just be like, dude, what are you open to? What is it you would like me to share with you? Right? So it's difficult to answer this. And then I have one more thing, but so this is very, very, very critical to everybody, because now I, like all of you, unfortunately, have gone through this and coddled this student forever. And I've done it on multiple occasions for a long period of time. If you're newer, or if you haven't been marketing for very long, my suggestion is don't ever do that. Let this person go, right? Unless you are a very, very good closer. And if you're not, call your mentor. Call up Michael Huggins or Hugh Zaretsky or Scott Rowe or somebody that you are good with, and have them work with them, and shut up and listen on a 3-way call and have them ask all the questions and close this person and see if they can get through these objections. Otherwise, take the time on your own, which is not a problem, and get some learning curve through it and try to overcome this person's objections. But you cannot do it by talking to someone and telling somebody all of the things that you want to tell them. Oh, we have this. Oh, you can do this. Oh, don't do that. That's all telling. You have to ask through it. Ask why. Ask how. What do you expect? How are you going to do that? How are you going to buy a deal? If money wasn't an object, would you consider Renatus? Like, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 with Renatus? Do you think the education is valuable? Like, who's going to teach you to do this crap for free? If you've, and the hard question would be, dude, if you've been in multifamily and you've seen people make this much money in multifamily for 15 freaking years, what makes you think tomorrow you're going to be freaking up on YouTube and stupid Facebook groups buying a multifamily unit? You've been doing it for 15 freaking years and you don't own a single unit. Something's missing. And that's what I'm offering you. Like, why are you not open to seeing what's possible? If 20 grand could get you an apartment complex in 6 months and not 15 years, and you had no money and no credit in your own deal, let me tell you a story about so-and-so who did it, then would that be worth it? And if your answer is yes, then table the 20 grand and let's figure out the value first, right? You guys, we have to consider asking questions. And if you're not able to have this conversation with that person, I'm not meaning you tomorrow, I mean everybody on this call, then let's get somebody on the call who can, and then shut up and listen and learn, or just fumble through it yourself, which is fine too. And just know that this prospect's not buying, at least not now. And that's okay. This prospect is a dud. This prospect is a 3 out of 10. And if you listen to Straight Line Persuasion and you listen to anything, one of the first things I do on a follow-up, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 being you're ready to get started right now, you got the money lined up, you've already thought about where you're getting it, you're a 10, you're buying Renatus today, whether or not we place your order or not, and a 1 being you're done, you're not doing this, where are you at? I'm a 3, then why are we here? Why are you even having a conversation with me if I'm a 3 and the only way I know how to help you is through the resources I use that's gotten me to where I'm at, right? Okay. And that's so good. I would take up that conversation next week, tomorrow for the whole hour, and we could spin off that. I'm going to ask this real quick. This is so cool. We got to wrap up. How can you give direction to someone that don't know where to start? Sandra, if you could just tell me, do you mean in the marketing or the real estate or both?
Let's say both.
Okay. This is for everybody, whether you've done this already or not. I don't care how long you've been in it. And this goes for me too, because I'm doing it myself right now. Number 1 is study. Get through the education. You don't have to get through 400 hours, but get through the essentials, or the ones that you want in the essentials. If you want to learn real estate, study the real estate essentials courses. If you want to learn how to pay debt and save on taxes and some finance stuff in your financial life, and it's not perfect in your financial life, study the 5 financial classes in the essentials. Then move into a strategy and study it while you're studying your real estate classes more than once. And when I say study, I mean study, which means you're on a Zoom. I mean, you're on a computer, you're listening to it and you're taking notes and you're awake. It's first thing in the morning, or it's not the last thing at night, or it's whenever you're most awake and you're watching this class. Okay. And you're taking notes, writing down questions, and you're studying it, and you're writing down action steps. During this time frame, you're making a list, right? And if you didn't watch the founders webinar yesterday at 3:00, that story, in my opinion, was I was in my Airbnb walking through it, one of them that I have here, and I was listening to it. So I wasn't 100% paying attention, but the story was amazing. And these people have done quite a bit in 90 days. I don't even know how it's possible what they did. And learn more stories about Renatus. Coupled with your stories, you're going to make your list of people that you know in your family, people you know in your phone, people you know. I don't care if you've called them before or not, and you're going to recall them. And you're going to start inviting them to see the things that you are seeing. You're going to create intrigue. And that is going to kick off your marketing, right? Your marketing will spin off into an ability for you to start building a real estate network. And it could start with the fact that you're saying, have you ever considered learning how to invest in real estate or investing in real estate, whatever it is you want to use? The reason for my call is I'm interested in growing my real estate investing network, and you're on my list, right? Whatever it is, if you need help with that, that's a whole different training. But my point is to get started in both. In the way I started was warm market. The way I started in real estate was I went to school. I did not start real estate by just doing it. I started real estate by going to school. I had to learn short sales, negotiations, everything. I had to understand mortgages. I had to understand bankruptcy. I had to understand short sales. I had to understand foreclosures. I had to understand forbearance. I had to understand everybody's options when they were crashing in their house in order for me to have a better solution for them than all their other solutions, like just let the damn thing go to the auction. That is a very viable option for people. But I had to get them to sell me their house. So you have to learn this information first. But when you learn it, you become an expert in doing your marketing. And people want to listen to you. those two things combined, you could never do a real estate deal and crush the marketing and eventually have deals brought to you that you'll never have to fish for a real estate deal, because you will be in such a knowledgeable position that you can take over any real estate deal that comes from a prospect that's joining your team in the real estate, and you become the lion's shareholder of that deal because they don't know what they're doing with it. And you're not taking advantage of them. You're still being very abundant with them and probably giving them more than they more than they even want or need on the deal, but you are able to take the lion's share based on the fact that you studied the crap out of this education. And that's how I would start. And that's how I restart. And that's how I'm starting over. That's how I'm kicking it off again. I could just reset it. And all the people that said no a year ago or 2 years ago, you start all over with them. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Bill.
You're welcome. All right, you guys, I'm over time again, but thank God Michael's a whole hour from now. So, Keely, I'm going to kick it back over to you to shut it down. Everybody, thank you so much for typing.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Oh my
Thank you
God.
very much.
Everybody, thank you so much for being here. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad,
Thank
Keely.
you, Keely.
Welcome.
Thank
Thank you, Bill. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome, everybody.
Great stuff, Bill. Wow.
Cool, right? Thank you, man. This comes from you, not from me. And so I just appreciate that you guys appreciate it. And so this was like a conversation. It was not a training. It was just you guys
Thanks,
having
Bill.
us talking. Yeah, you're welcome, Tom.
Good
I
day.
love you, brother. Autumn, Isaac, Chai, you guys are awesome. Celeste, beautiful.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, Andy, how are you, brother? Awesome. Say hi to Minnesota. And Keely, Bill, I think we're doing other stuff next week, or we're not quite set up for the rest, right?
You're talking about 30 minutes after this?
Yeah.
That'll be next week.
Yeah, perfect. Because then we're gonna do some real estate, you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be doing that as well. So we're gonna have a double cup of tea. I don't even know. That's stupid.
Are you talking about the real estate mastermind, Bill? Is that?
Yeah, right after
Oh,
this,
awesome.
every Tuesday.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. And you guys are lovely. I love every one of you. I love this opportunity and I appreciate it. And thank you, Michael and Christian and John O'Neill for having me out here.
Are we going to get a text for that?
Yeah, we're setting everything up. That's why we haven't started it yet. Everybody's going to get a new Zoom link. We'll actually leave this one, go on to a new one. And it'll be after, so it's just going to be cool. And it's going to be multiple times a week. And Keely and all of us on collaboration are putting it all together so we can bring even more freaking value to not just you, but you can share this with your prospects. I mean, these morning calls alone, now we add in the real estate. We added Lily on Friday for training. It's retarded. That's probably not politically correct. It's ridiculous how, how cool we can share it. I didn't mean I have a handicapped uncle, so I didn't mean that badly. I love something about Mary. So, all right. Is this being recorded? Edit this part, /
We are recording. Okay.
You're so funny, Bill.
Sorry.
You're just being you.
Totally.
And I do think Michael is starting like now. So.
Oh, I thought he was at 9, 11.
Nice.
No, Papa's
10.
Mastermind.
No,
All
It's
right,
10
it's at-
Central.
Perfect.
Yes. So we're starting.
Is it going to be on this one here, Keely, or are we going to a different Zoom?
We're going to exit
different
this
one.
and click on the link that Michael provided. If you need it, reach out to me on Facebook, I guess.
Okay,
Because I'm
thanks.
closing this down right now.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Bill.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.